Well, Australia's inflation rate for the year to March has decreased to 7% from a 30-year high of 7.8% in the December quarter. This suggests we could have another rate pause on the cards for May. Joining me to discuss this and the state of our economy is Labor MP Andrew Charlton. Great to see you. Thanks for your time today.
Thanks for having me. And
the host of Sky News Business and our business editor on every day, 4:30, just before my show, Ross Greenwood. Love your show every day, Ross. Thank you for your time and expertise.
No problems
Ross,
at all.
I'm going to start with you. Look, this is a good sign that inflation is falling now to 7%, but the RBA governor did indicate that unless there's an inflation breakout, the cash rate may not need to be lifted again. Ross, we're still far from the target of 2 to 3% though.
Yeah, but then Reserve Bank Governor Philip Lowe has indicated that he's prepared to allow inflation to drift lower over the next couple of years, back to that target. But you're quite right in saying that he does say that if there's any outbreak of inflation, then he's prepared to continue to raise interest rates. And the bias right now is for interest rates to continue to rise. There's a couple of things out of today's stats. The one number that the Reserve Bank looks is called underlying inflation. So it takes off one-off factors, if you like. So while the headline rate is 7%, the underlying rate is 6.6%. And when you compare that with the current cash rate of 3.6%, it is uncomfortably high. This is the reason why there's still a bias, if you're a homeowner, that you've got to expect there will be more interest rate rises in the future. The second factor that's important is that there are still inflationary pressures in our economy. So for households and businesses, even if inflation went to zero this week, remember, you're still paying the very high prices you were last year. This is the mathematics of all of this, if you like. And then consider oil prices have risen back to $80 US a barrel. That's inflationary. You've got situations whereby you've got other costs that are continuing to rise in our community, including the price of services, which are at now 21-year record highs. So all of these things mean that the inflationary pressure has not disappeared. And though it's good news where we are right now, it's still not the end of this story.
Yeah, absolutely. It's falling, but it's still very high. Andrew Charlton, you know, the RBA, as Ross just referred to, has said he wants to let inflation drift back to its target of 2 to 3%. That could take until 2025 to do that. Do you think this is the right approach, or should the RBA be tackling inflation more quickly than that?
Well, Ross is right. The inflation numbers today were down from where they've been, but they are still far too high. With inflation at 7%, that is more than twice the RBA's target, and that has real effects for people. Some of the underlying numbers that were out today were housing costs up 10%, utilities costs up 14%, food costs up 8%. So these are real pressures, and there is pressure on the RBA to make sure that they get down to the band in a reasonable time frame. Now, Ross is right. They've said that they don't want to get there too quickly at the cost of crashing the economy. But they do need to make sure that it comes down at a steady rate, because if inflation becomes entrenched, then it is extremely hard to get rid of.
So back to my question, should they be tackling this more quickly than letting it just drift back to the 2 to 3 target over a couple of years?
Well, I don't think they're going to let it drift. The RBA governor has said that he will do whatever it takes to get the inflation rate back into the target. We've increased interest rates very rapidly, one of the sharpest increases in interest rates in history. And so, no doubt the RBA, which makes its decisions independently, and it's important that we respect that, but no doubt they are planning on making sure that we get inflation back to the target in good order.